Okay, let's have a look at it.
Hello there, my name is Eryberrie.
Oh my goodness, how young do I look?
The first vlog video that I
Bloody hell, I mean, I was 29 there, but I look
I have to say I'm pretty
22.
But then again, this is something I wanted to do for some time.
And I was so skinny. Well, no, I wasn't skinny, I was slim, but...
By all means, do so. I'm an aspiring writer, and it's something I've wanted to do since I was a child. At the moment,
yeah, I just want to stop there for a second. Yeah, that's exactly why I wanted to start YouTube. Was simply because I was so passionate, and still am extremely passionate about writing, and I wanted to share my passion with the world. That's exactly what I wanted to do. It's somewhat evolved since then, but that remains the heart and core of the reason why I started doing it. My goodness. And when I first uploaded this, a lot of people commented that my audio was really low. And yeah, it was. So I'm going to have to crank it up. So the audio is not all that great either. I was actually using an old camera that I don't have anymore because it went stupid. And this was filmed at my old house. The lighting is perfect because it was daytime, whereas now I use artificial lighting. Yeah, I was actually quite proud of this one, and this was not edited at all. I didn't use any editing software because you can see me dipping into the camera to turn it off and switch it on, switch it off. I didn't even know that I could get free software, Windows Movie Maker. That was the first software I ever used. I actually used that for the first few of my Skyrim videos. But anyway, let's continue watching this.
I'm nearly 30. I haven't yet got anything published, simply because I just haven't been able to get the motivation going to finish a novel. Because it is like running on a treadmill, and you're putting all that effort in, but you don't really seem to be getting anywhere.
Good analogy.
Sometimes, if you could picture yourself in a simulation,
oh god, my nose
it's
is
like
itchy.
exactly the same path, the same foggy horizon, and you very rarely see a turn in the road or something that will motivate you further. Often you're alone, and the only thing you've got to keep you going is a long-term dream. But I mean, I found myself struggling with writer's block for a long time with one particular novel that I've got going at the moment.
That's my debut novel.
And just over a year ago, I found that I didn't know whether I could continue doing it. I really wanted to. The want was there. But every time I sat down to write, it was as if I was in physical pain. I couldn't scale the wall, so to speak. I physically couldn't walk the path. Every time I started writing, the pain...
Yeah, oh, look at my face there. Yeah, that physical pain, it's something that dissipated quite soon after this anecdote that I'm telling you here. And it dissipated towards the end of writing that novel, and now I'm experiencing it all over again, writing my second and third novels, which I'm doing simultaneously. It is arduous. And one of the biggest problems was that my debut novel, I spent 10 years writing it, was written in the first person. But my second novel is written in the third person. Now, my fan fiction was written in the third person, and I was perfectly okay with that, because at that point I was comfortable writing in the third person. Way before I started my novel, I would always write in the first person because that's how I felt comfortable, but I knew that my first novel had to be in third. The switch between first and third is a lot harder than people think. And that's a whole new pain I'm experiencing, so I might do another vlog about that soon.
Pain would hold me back. Occasionally I'd break through that pain barrier and I would be on a roll and write thousands of words after thousands of words. But often that didn't come. And just over a year ago, something happened.
My cat's just jumped on the desk.
That reignited my writing spark. And that was the TV show Sherlock.
Yeah.
Because it was so brilliantly written, and just the quality comes off on screen. And that's when I discovered fan fiction, which, to be honest, really saved my writing life, if you wish to call it that. But if I go back a little bit further, is that I first heard of Sherlock Holmes.
Cat's just rubbing her. Sorry, Cat's just rubbing herself on my microphone. It's not yours. You've been fed. What's your problem? Do you just want mummy love? Yar, you do. Okay, let's continue. Hopefully the cat won't interrupt much. Yeah, this whole anecdote about Sherlock, remember it like it was yesterday. The first and second series of Sherlock, still in my opinion, are the best. I enjoyed... I sometimes I flip back and forth between whether I enjoyed Series 3 more or Series 4 more. Oh, careful, Moo. It's difficult for me to make that decision, but Sherlock will always be one of the very few things in life that have really spurred me to write. There have been others, and I would be happy to talk about them. If Sherlock were ever to return, producers of the show, I would be ecstatic if I could write it. I'm a huge fan of the originals, and moving into television would be a wonderful leap from being a novel writer. Still, we can dream.
I remember I was a huge fan of Sooty Show, and in one of the episodes where there was food going missing, a little detective turned up and called himself Sherlock Sooty with a stitched-on deerstalker and cape. And when I was at school, we sang some songs, for like singing practice, which was Sherlock Holmes inspired, Baker Street Irregulars, Eliminate the Impossible, songs I cannot find anywhere at all on the internet now, but by the by. And a few years later, I caught a few Sherlock Holmes TV shows at the Jeremy Brett versions, and one of the shows that I saw was The Crooked Man. And you know what, the story of this bloke, what this poor bloke went through, got me here. Really touched me. And when he's telling the story to Sherlock and Watson, I expected
Sherlock and
those two
Watson
to have the same sort of reaction.
Got Sherlock and John,
But
Holmes and John,
reaction was
Holmes
very
and
much
Watson.
a case of, okay. And that was it. No emotion, nothing, just cold indifference. And I'm thinking, how the hell can you be like that? How on earth can you be so cold?
Cat's just got down.
And I'm feeling towards this poor man's plight. You know, and thank God Dr. Watson was there, because you could definitely see that even though the bloke doesn't wear his heart on his sleeve, that he was touched by the story. And I asked my mum, is that how he was in the books? And she said, yeah. And I thought, okay, I so don't like that guy. I don't care.
One thing that's kind of striking me a little bit from the original is that I did this entire video unedited without making any kind of error in my speech. Now, how many times since then doing my vlogs have I... You can see the number of edits that I make in my videos now where I say something and then stop and go, no, I shouldn't say it like that. Let's think of a better way of saying it. I don't know whether it's because subconsciously at the back of my head, I know that I have editing software there to save that moment. And maybe if I didn't have editing software, if my delivery would be any different, because my delivery now is very different to how it was then. So I, for one, I'm actually proud of this first vlog, and I'm not going to take it down. A lot of people take down their first ones or their early ones, but I'm not going to. Let's continue.
I don't care if he's a genius. I don't care if he's the best detective ever. I do not like him. I don't want to know Sherlock Holmes. I don't want to read anymore. I don't want to see anymore. And that was it. Until about 14 months ago, my partner was raving to me about this show called Sherlock, which had just finished its second season. And we went to Asda after work. She got a box set, and she just came up and went like that in my face with it. And I was like, oh, for God's sake. And she's like, well, it's written by the same people who write Doctor Who. You know, we've got to watch it. Oh, for God's sake, you know, not that again. And I said, fine, you stick it on, I'll play The Sims. And she said to me, no, watch it with me. You never do that. You always go off and play something. Oh, fine.
Yeah.
So, I watched it with her, and there are a few points in A Study in Pink that really got me. And first things first was actually just the man himself, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just fascinated with him. Everything about him just locks me into the show. His voice, his body language and demeanour, particularly the scene where he whips the corpse. I mean, that was just there to sort of shock you into going, oh my god, you know, really not expecting that. And when he gives that long-winded deduction, I know you're an army doctor and you've recently been invalided home from Afghanistan. When he goes on that long deduction and the camera pans out of him into him and then out from John
Very
Watson,
good camera trick.
Martin's face, it's just a picture of intrigue and shock and admiration. That's when I sat up and paid attention and I thought, this is a bloody good show. And when we watched
yeah, that was a moment of capture of attention, definitely. It was actually 6 years ago, almost to the day, that I went to London. I was dropping my mother and grandmother-in-law off at a station, and they were filming the final scene of His Last Vow. No, not the final scene, the final episode of series 3, His Last Vow, in North Gower Street. And yeah, I was there that day, and I was around lots of screaming girls, and I saw Benedict in the flesh, and I don't remember. No, I didn't actually vlog about that, but yeah, he was really charming. He was really nice. Martin Freeman, I have to say though, I mean, we're digressing a bit from the first video, but I want to go back to the Sherlock thing. Martin Freeman didn't speak to anybody. He stayed well back, and the only time he acknowledged people there was when somebody yelled out, "I love you, Martin," and he went like that. I can't wink very well, but yeah, and that made everybody laugh. In between the change of camera angles, Benedict always made an effort to come and say hello to everybody. He was polite and friendly. And when he said to people, "Come on, be quiet," we did as we were asked, because he asked so nicely. Yeah, I mean, I remember that day, it was really hot and I got a bit of sunburn. There were 2 scenes filmed that day, but I only saw the first scene, which actually turned out to be subsequent in the show to the one they filmed later that day, which is strange. But yeah, that was quite an experience, and I'd like to sort of see something like that again. Better yet, I'd like to be the one behind the camera.
All 6 episodes, which took us 2 days, I found myself just completely spellbound by the writing quality. And I had seen Doctor Who episodes before, but I wasn't really into it. I'm not really a sci-fi fan. I do like mystery, I do like intrigue, and I absolutely love the whole friendship between these 2 men. It's amazing. And that's how I started getting into fan fiction, because there were a lot of people who'd written on the internet about what they thought had happened at the end of Reichenbach Fall. And there was a lot of fan fiction about, you know, how they thought Sherlock would resurface. Some people probably didn't even think that's how it would happen, but they made up their own stories anyway. Yeah,
the theories about how he survived the fall were interesting. I have to say that the reveal in Series 3 was quite anticlimactic, you know, from my point of view. It was so simple. I was expecting something with a little bit more to it, but no. But writing the fan fiction for myself, do you know what? I had this weird experience where I went away from my fan fiction, went to my novel, then went back to my fan fiction, and I read the first chapter of my fan fiction, and I couldn't even get halfway through. I looked at it and I thought, I actually wrote that crap? Because sometimes I think other writers out there have experienced the same thing. If you're a writer out there, have you ever gone back and read what you've written years ago, whatever, and you've gone, why the hell did I write that? That's shit. You know, but then we're all critics, you know, of our own work and everything. But yeah, it's always good to practice. And doing the fan fiction, it taught me so much about language and grammar and all kinds of stuff that I took for granted. I needed that time it was a training thing as well. But one more thing that really trained me hard was when I wrote my first draft of my novel after abandoning my fan fiction, and my editor, she pointed out flaws in my work I didn't know were there, like head hopping without realising. When I look back on my Sherlock fanfiction, I was head hopping, but didn't realise I was doing it. So, again, if you're going to do any kind of practice writing, do some fanfiction. See where you go.
I then went from reading that to reading like text message ones, really funny ones, sometimes very serious ones, sick fix, real guilty pleasure of mine, and then I started reading John Locke / and I absolutely love John Locke / I mean, I'm a gay woman, but I love reading gay / I think it's adorable. It's just really is. When it's well written, it doesn't matter what the subject matter is, in my opinion. If it's well written, I will read it.
It's execution, not subjects. And I thought to
myself, maybe I should have a go at that. I quite like the idea of putting all my thoughts that were going on in my head onto paper. I had these little daydreams that I often do if I ever get fond of a TV show or something. I imagine myself as a character in the show, and I imagine myself living in 221C. So I wrote a fanfiction based on that. I created a character of my own. This fanfiction has a small yet loyal following, because not a lot of people like own character fanfictions, which I get. A lot of people don't want to invest in a character when they've already invested in the characters that are on screen. And then I went back to the original material of Sherlock Holmes, and it actually really did surprise me that, the Crooked Man really, to be honest, was the worst one I could have seen, because that really shows his blunt and cold manner. Whereas the other ones, and especially...
Yeah, this is also a good example of how my views on things have changed over the years. I was very much someone who invested in a character if they showed emotion and empathy and all of that. Whereas since then, I still do, but at the same time, I value anyone who can just look at something from an analytical point of view, because quite a lot of the time you need to block out emotion to be able to find the answer to something. That's another reason why I got back into true crime. I used to watch true crime with my mother a lot when I was younger, and then I got back into it after I did this vlog and realised that really it is like a puzzle. You can't bring emotion into it, otherwise it just clouds your judgment. There's a fine balance. So I think Sherlock did teach me that fine balance. And I was watching a little bit of the commentary with Benedict, and I think it was Mark and Martin Freeman were talking about where John says that would caring help save them? Well, no, it wouldn't. And that was actually a very reasonable stance to have. Crying about something and being all emotional about something doesn't help the situation, and it has actually helped me with my health issues. Is just to go, do you know what? I can cry and whinge all I like. It's not going to change anything. Just get on with it.
The original stories show sometimes a very human side to him, very caring side to him, and I found him just generally a very inspirational character. I found him the sort of person that many of us would love to not so much be, but if you think about it, intelligence and talent will only get you so far.
Yeah.
If you really want to succeed in life, take a leaf out of Sherlock Holmes books and put a hell of a lot of bloody hard work into it. Because if you think of the bloke who knows makes and models of just about everything, knows the train timetables off the top of his head, he knows every street of London, lots and lots of information about lots of different things, which are pertinent to his work. I mean, he's multilingual as well. He's put a hell of a lot of work into what he does. Hours, days, weeks, months, years of just work. Not only is he super intelligent and super clever, you're not going to get very far if you've got a talent and you don't utilise it.
Very, very true. We all have one. All of us.
I'd say, this is my personal belief, that every single human being on this planet, everybody, no matter where you are or who you are, every single person has a special gift. Everyone has a talent or an affinity for something.
How many times do I flick my hair in this?
Anything. It could be
flipping hair gets in my way. I've been watching it.
Children.
Still gets in my way.
Like sometimes people have very analytical minds that they want to get into the other people's heads, like they might want to become a psychologist. It's a passion. It's a raw passion. It's not just you know, just something that you do, like a hobby. Like I like artwork. I love drawing, and I love dog training. I've done that before. I love horse riding, but I think writing is the only thing that I think I do and do well. I think it's probably my only talent. There are many things out there I'd love to be able to do. Like, I do not have a mind like Sherlock Holmes at all. I don't have a logical, analytical mind. I'm very blinkered in many ways. I don't always see the big picture.
I think I've learnt a bit more in that area.
How many times I try. I certainly can't get on with other languages. I'm tone deaf. I can't play sports to save my life. I'm naturally a very awkward person. I'm a very socially awkward person.
That was sort of getting onto, I think the look on my face then, I was trying to stop myself mentioning autism, because at the point of making that video, I was learning a bit more about me potentially being autistic, but I didn't want to talk about it. I wasn't ready to talk about it. I hadn't gone to a doctor at that point. It wasn't until about a year and a half after making this video that I did. Was it a year? No, it was 6 months after making this video, 1.5 years. 6 months after making this video that I finally did. I think now watching this back, reflecting on this video, I'm not going to watch it all the way to the end because I just ramble. You can always watch it yourself. I'll put a link below or above or whatever. Is that the final thoughts on this video is that I think I've been quite harsh on Sherlock, the show, and I think a lot of us have been. Now, the showrunners would not have released those episodes if they were not 100% happy with it. And I think fans can become very, very harsh on writers if later episodes not so much aren't up to scratch, but aren't the same as before. They just want echoes of the same thing, or they want to keep topping it and making it better. But better is different depending on your point of view. Everyone has their own view about what is good and what isn't. With this show, I think I need to be a lot more grateful to the writers and to the people who made it possible, because it really inspired me not only to get on with my writing, but to view things in a different way and to realise that no matter, you know, when I was at school, I wanted to be like, you know, the skinny, pretty girls who, you know, they used to wear a lot of makeup and look good, and I didn't, you know. But now, especially after finding out I've got autism and then MEM1, is that I don't really care about being different, and I actually would prefer to be different than be like everyone else. I'm going to treasure that show forever, and I'm going to treasure this vlog forever. The second video I did after this, I just rambled a bit more about writing. It's not worth me watching, really. I did a third one about writing, actually, only a couple of weeks after the second, but it was at night time. The lighting was rubbish. It was crap. It only got like 25 views in 3 months. So I removed it, and the next time I filmed anything was when I did the update on my life, and that was the first time I used editing software. I certainly would never even try and do a whole stint like this one, and my second one was the same. It was just one long stint without making a few cuts, possibly. But yeah, I thank you so much for watching this video, guys. This has been completely unscripted and not planned at all. I just wanted to show my real raw reaction to it. There's only a few minutes left, so if you want me to vlog a lot more about writing, I will definitely do that. And what are your views on Sherlock? I'd like to hear what you think. And also, just one last thing, I have a second channel, true crime channel, and I will put a link in that below, but also above right now. And therefore, please subscribe to that. It helps me out greatly. Thank you so much. Have a great day, my lovely juicy berries, wherever you are. I love you very much. Bye-bye.